Alright, today I'm just going to do a little bit of English gematria. And gematria is the way in which the Hebrew, Greek, and English, and other alphabets as well, were put together with number encoding. So here's our basic cipher. Basically, you divide the 26 letters of the alphabet in half, so A through M, N through Z. That's 13 and 13, and it's actually based on the story of creation. So it is said that God made the universe in 6 days, and then on the seventh day he rested. And so the cipher is based on that idea or concept. And then after the seventh day, we just walk back down 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's a pretty simple system, but I'm just going to show you today just something basic about the holy number 7. 7 is one of the building blocks of the universe. You'll see 3, 4, 7, and 12 all over the place. The 7, the septenary is called the 7, and the 12 go throughout all these ancient mythologies, from the 12 apostles, which are actually the 12 posts of the zodiac or the Mazzaroth, through many other ancient stories, through the Iliad with Homer, through ancient Egypt and Greece. The Torah is actually based on this cipher as well. The 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet is based on the Torah, or the wheel. So now I'm just going to talk to you about the holy number 7. Very briefly too. There's a lot that goes on with 7, but this is just something very simple. The way in which this cipher works with 7 is you basically write out the word 7 in letters. So S, E, V, E, N. And just a little side note, if you were to take away this S, you have even, which is where we get the word Eve, from Adam and Eve. We get 11, even, evening. We get a lot of words that refer to the feminine energy of Adam and Eve in our English alphabet. So back to 7. You just look here, correspondingly below 7 would be 6. Or I'm sorry, below S would be 6, so that would be its numerical value. E would be 5, and we'll put 5 here as well. V would be 5 as well, and N is 1. If you just add all these numbers up, you'll get 22. Again, back to that Hebrew alphabet, that Torah number. 22 is also a very significant number. But why is 22 significant when you add it up using the letters of 7? Well, now that we have 22, if you just divide 22 by 7 itself, we get the transcendental number of pi, 3.14. Pretty amazing. At least I think it's pretty amazing. This mathematical equation comes into many things. Primarily comes into the Vesica Pisces, which I'll be doing more videos on, which is the splitting of pi. 7 comes into that, and the building blocks of our very first letter of our alphabet, the A, or the alpha. And then here's just a couple of other things about 7 that are pretty well known. We have 7 visible planets, which actually correspond to our 7 chakras. We have 7 colors in the rainbow, in which the human eye can see, of the light spectrum. We actually have 7 notes in an octave. The word octave actually means 8, but the first note is the beginning, and the last note is the end. So it isn't an 8-step process to be in an octave, but there's 7 notes in an octave. Famously heard of the 7 sisters, which refers to all kinds of constellations, primarily the Pleiades. And then there's also many sacred cities around the world that have built their cities on 7 hills or 7 mounts, primarily Rome. And Rome used to be called Saturnia before it was called Rome, because they basically worshipped Saturn, again referring to the planets. So 7 is a significant number, and 7 encodes pi. And so, real quick, I'll just go on a side note here and show you just a basic picture of the 7 chakras as they correspond to, I don't know if you can see that, the 7 chakras. These are nerve ganglia that are in the human body, and notice that there are 7 of them. And each one of these nerve ganglia is in the same places as where our spiritual centers or energy centers called chakras would be. And those chakras have wheels on them, or they're actually made up of wheels that spin light or energy up and down our spine. And so it's not ironic or coincidence that we have 7 main nerve ganglia that correspond to the 7 chakras. And in the chakra system, their wheels, typically they're shown as wheels that look something like this. So you have 7 of them. And you notice that they all have different amount of petals. And as you go up, the petals increase. And so the first one starts with 2. And then the next one is 4, and so on and so forth. And it just so happens that if you add up all the numbers of the petals and you get to the 6th chakra, you end up with the number 144. And then the 7th chakra is called the 1,000 petaled lotus. So here, if you multiply the 144 times the 1,000, it's obvious that you get 144,000. And this is actually in direct reference to the Bible, when it says, and I'm not exactly quoting it, but when it says that during the process of the harvesting of souls or the ascension, 144,000 shall have thy eye be single and full of light, and shall reach the heavens. And this is actually not referring to 144,000 different people. This is referring to anyone who goes through the chakra system and enlightens themselves and raises their kundalini energy up through their spine. And this is actually the process of ascension that is encoded and talked about heavily in all ancient scriptures, but it's really heavily encoded in the Bible. Then I'm going to do one more little segue here that I just think is really neat about the number 7. We have 7 visible planets. And of course we have more planets in our solar system, 9 or 10 depending on your perspective, but the 7 visible planets regulate a lot of the human body and a lot about man, and primarily the cycles of time and space and the way that we fit in them. And one of the most basics that a lot of people may or may not know or ever think about, that I think is neat, is that you have 7 planets. Whoops, sorry about that. And those 7 planets are actually where we get our cycles of the week, the 7 days of the week. So Sunday, well, that one's obvious. It's the day of the sun, the center of our solar system. Monday is in reference to the moon. And in Spanish or Latin, it's called lunes, which means the moon. And then Tuesday, in Latin, is called Martis, which is obvious that that's Mars. Wednesday is Mercolis in Spanish, but in Latin it's spelled, how's it spelled here? It's Mercur. Mercury, which is obviously Mercury in English. Thursday is Jovis, which is Jupiter. Friday is Viernes in Spanish, but in Latin, I believe it's spelled Veneris, which is Venus, the mother goddess. And again, back to Eve. This refers to the female. Obviously, Venus has always been known as the female goddess, but Venus, if you just put an E in front of it, you have Eve, or evenness, which is a feminine quality. The even numbers in our number scale are associated with feminine, and our odd numbers are associated with male. Saturday, well, that one's really obvious. That's Saturn. And so there you have it. We've got 7 days, not 8, not 9, not 10. We have 7, and they're all actually coordinated with the 7 visible planets in our solar system. So I think if you grow up in Europe and you speak Latin or a Romance language, you probably figure this out fairly early in life. But I didn't figure it out until recently. I think that's pretty cool. Another really cool thing, before we finish here, is in astrology, this is the symbol of the earth. It's also called the medicine wheel, the cross, the crucifixion. It's got a lot of names, the Holy Cross. The biblical cross comes from here. And what it really is just the summer solstice, winter solstice, and the 2 equinoxes. And this is the symbol of the earth, because this is what happens when the sun hits the earth throughout the year. And this is where we get, in mathematics, we get our basic symbols. A lot of people don't know where our symbols come from that we use every day, but this is where we get our plus symbol, addition. And then if you were to rotate this wheel a little bit, like this, that's where we get our multiplication symbol. And then, obviously, if you keep going with this, it's pretty simple that we get our subtraction from the horizon, or the equinox, or the equator. And then, last and not least, when you divide, which is basically the yin and yang, the light of the sun, the dark of the night, the height of summer and the darkness of winter on the top and bottom. So we get our division, which that's actually talking about division. When you divide the equator of the earth, you get these different polarities. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll be posting more in the future.